All right, guys, we are going to come back to geometry. Here's some 7th grade skills that I know that they're going to hit hard when we go to 8th grade, so I want to make sure that you are aware of it. So you need some paper out, so let's just talk about angles first. So if we think about angles here, hopefully you know the classification of an angle. There's a right angle, and it measures exactly 90 degrees. They're normally going to show you this little box here that would indicate to you that that is a right angle and it's exactly 90 degrees. If it's smaller, then that's 90. That's an acute angle, and larger is an obtuse. Another angle that is not listed here is called a straight angle. Okay, a straight angle, and this would measure exactly 180 degrees. Okay, the ones we're going to focus on today are right angles and the straight angle here. Okay. All right, so let's first just make sure that you understand about an angle. So an angle is formed by two rays, okay? So here is an angle here. When you identify an angle, you can identify it a couple ways. The symbol for an angle just looks like an angle here. So if I were going to identify it, I would put the symbol angle, and then I'm going to use 3 letters. So C, B, A, C, B, A. Okay. I could also call it angle A, B, C. You notice that B is always in the middle because B, this is the vertex. This is where the 2 rays form, where they come together. So that is the vertex. Okay. So I can name it those 2 ways, or I can also name it just with the vertex. Okay. I can only do that if I just have one angle. Like if I had multiple angles here, like this, and like this. If this were angle X, or sorry, point X, I couldn't say, well, tell me what angle X is. Well, you wouldn't know if it was this angle, or this angle. Okay, you wouldn't know that. When you get into next year too, you're also going to be using protractors to measure angles. Okay. All right, so this one I could measure it X, or I could label it XYZ. Angle ZYX, or simply angle Y. Okay? All right, so that's just a quick review of angles. So we're going to talk today about supplementary and complementary angles. All right, supplementary angles is 2 angles. It's 2 angles that their sum would add up to 90 degrees. So if this is a right angle or a 90-degree angle, if I were to break that into 2 angles, those 2 angles together would have to add up to 90 degrees. That makes sense, right? Okay, so here's an example right here. If I'm telling you that this angle here measures 71 degrees, you would simply find the difference. So I would take 90 degrees minus the 71, and that's going to give me 19. So that means this angle here would have to be 19 degrees. Okay, and when I write mine, guys, I don't have a degree sign because I don't have a symbol that would do that. Okay. All right, the other one is supplementary. Supplementary, it starts with a 180 degrees or a straight angle, and it breaks it into 2 angles. So those 2 angles together, this angle here and this angle here, would have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I'm telling you from here to here is 147, and I want to know what this is, well, together they have to add up to 180. So I simply subtract. So 180 minus 147, that's going to give me 33. So that means this one here has to be 33 degrees. Okay? All right, so why don't you do a little practice here? So why don't you pause the video and come back when you can tell me the missing angle. Come back when you can tell me the missing angle. Okay? All right, check your work there, guys. Okay? All right, so when I give you, when I want you to find the missing angle, I might either give it to you in a picture or it might simply be in word form. So again, if the following are complementary angles, if I give you one of the angles, you should be able to tell me the other one. All right, so why don't you pause the video and come back and tell me the missing angle. All right, check your answers. All right, another vocabulary word that's important are called vertical angles. Vertical angles are simply when two lines have intersected. So when I have two lines that have intersected, okay, and they form four different angles, okay. The opposite angles are called vertical angles. So if you look at my picture here, angle 1 and angle 3 are called vertical angles because they're opposite of each other, okay? And then of course 2 and 4 are vertical angles because they're opposite of each other. Now, why does that matter? That matters because if they are vertical angles, then that means they also have the same measurement. So if I were to tell you that this measurement here is 85 degrees, then automatically you know that its vertical angle, the one that's right opposite of it, is also 85, okay? And that helps you too, because then if you know that, do you see that this is a straight line here? So that means from here all the way over has to equal 180. That is a straight line. Well, you know that angle 2 is 85, so you simply subtract 180 minus 85, and that would give you 95. So that means angle 1 is a 95-degree angle. If you know 1, then you also know its vertical angle here, which would be angle 3, so this is also 95 degrees, okay? All right, let's do another example here. Okay, so if I look at this, let's see, angle 1 and angle 2. So what would angle 1 have to be? It's opposite angle here, so that means that has to be 145. Angle 2 then, its opposite or its vertical angle here would have to be 35 degrees, okay? All right, so here's where it gets a little fun, I think, all right? So this is where you have a lot of different angles here. So I want you to see if you can figure out what this angle is here, this angle here, okay? I've given you a lot of different, I only gave you one measurement. So you're gonna have to see if you can use that measurement and use what you know about complementary, supplementary, and vertical angles, all right? So I'm gonna let you pause the video for a second and see if you can figure out how you would figure out the degrees for angle X. You pause it and see if you can figure it out. All right, so for me, what I see that I see a straight line here. I see a straight line. Okay, so that means that that straight line from here all the way to here has to add up to 180 degrees. So 180 minus the 35 already given, 35 given. So that means angle X has to be 145 degrees, okay? Now, you could have figured it out some other ways, but let's just go with that, okay? Let's do another one. I'm gonna show you another thing too. So if I look at, let's go to this one. So if I wanted to figure out what this angle was here, angle X here, how do you think you could go about doing that? Any ideas? Pause the video if you think you have some ideas. All right, so here's what I'm seeing. Here is two lines intersecting and they form vertical angles. So here's a vertical angle. This angle here and this angle here have to be vertical. Now it just so happens that this angle has been split though, okay? But that just means that if this is 58 degrees here, that means these two together have to be 58 degrees. So if I take 58 minus my 23, that's going to give me 33. So that means this angle here 35, has to be 35 degrees. So if I were to add these two angles together now, they should add up to 58. That's how I know that they're vertical angles, okay? Now, because I know this information, I can also figure out this angle here now. I can figure out this one because here's my straight line. So I know that this is already 58. So 58 plus what is going to give me the 180. So I take 180 minus the 58. So that has to be 122. Now, because this is 122, here's its vertical angle right across. So that has to be 122, okay? Let's go back to this one before and see if I gave you enough information to figure out. Let's see. All right, why don't you see if you can figure out what angle 1, 2, or 3 would be. Okay, 1, 2, or 3. See, pause the video and see if you can come up with those answers. What the measurement of angle 1, 2, and 3 is. All right, so here's what I know now. So I can see that this is a complementary angle here. This is a complementary. So that means that these two angles together, this one and this one, have to add up to 90 degrees. So 90 minus my 35. So that means this has to be 55 degrees. It has to be 55. So angle 1 here is 55 degrees. Okay. All right, so let's see what else I know. So if I'm looking, it looks like to me, here's a vertical angle here, 35, and this one, these are vertical angles. So this angle here also has to be 35 degrees because this, let me erase some of this mess here. All right, because this angle here and this angle here are vertical angles. All right, the only one I have left is angle 2 here, which this is a perpendicular line. If this one over here is 90 degrees on this side, then that means this one has to be 90 as well. All right. All right, so I'm going to give you some practice and let's just see how you do with this. All right. All right, have a great day, guys.